Imagine waking up tomorrow with $400 million. Not 400,000, not 4 million, 400 million. Enough money to buy private islands, luxury penthouses, sports cars, and never work another day in your life. Now, here's the twist. Nobody knows. Not your friends, not your coworkers, not your neighbors, not even the people sitting next to you at a coffee shop. You still wear ordinary clothes. You still wait in line. You still drive a reliable car. You still smile when someone assumes you're just another average person. Would you tell anyone? Or would you keep it a secret? Most people think becoming incredibly wealthy automatically means living an extravagant lifestyle. Huge mansions, designer clothes, luxury watches, private jets. But what if the smartest way to enjoy wealth is to make sure nobody ever realizes you have it? Because once people know you're rich, everything changes. The way people talk to you changes. The favors they ask for change. The opportunities they offer you change. Even your closest relationships can quietly begin to change. Money doesn't only buy freedom, sometimes it takes it away. Let's explore what life would actually feel like if you had $400 million and absolutely nobody knew. At first, it sounds impossible. Wouldn't people notice? Wouldn't your lifestyle give you away? Not necessarily. Think about it. $400 million doesn't force you to spend money. It simply gives you the choice. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions about wealth. People confuse having money with spending money. They're completely different things. Imagine two people. The first earns $200,000 a year. Every weekend, there's a new luxury purchase, a bigger house, a newer SUV, expensive vacations posted online, designer brands everywhere. The second person quietly owns investments worth hundreds of millions. They live in a comfortable home, drive a dependable car, take vacations without posting every detail online. Who looks richer? Probably the first person. Who is actually richer? The second person. Our brains are wired to judge wealth by appearances. That's because appearances are easy to see. Assets are invisible. Nobody sees your investment portfolio. Nobody notices your dividend payments. Nobody can see compound growth working quietly in the background. Real wealth is often invisible. That's why the phrase "money talks, wealth whispers" has become so popular. Now imagine your daily routine. You wake up without worrying about your bank account. You don't panic when unexpected bills arrive. You don't feel trapped in a job you dislike. You work only because you choose to, not because you have to. That feeling is difficult to explain. It's not excitement, it's peace. And peace is probably the most underrated luxury money can buy. Most people think wealth creates happiness through buying more things. In reality, one of the greatest gifts of wealth is removing constant anxiety. Imagine never checking your account before grocery shopping, never wondering whether you can afford an emergency, never lying awake thinking about next month's rent. Money doesn't solve every problem, but it can remove many of the problems created by financial insecurity. That's a very different kind of happiness. Now here's something interesting. If nobody knows you're wealthy, something else happens. People treat you normally. Your friendships stay authentic. Conversations stay honest. Nobody invites you somewhere just because they think you'll pay. Nobody suddenly remembers your birthday because they need a favor. When people don't know your financial status, they reveal who they really are. That's valuable information. Money has a strange effect on relationships. Sometimes it attracts people. Sometimes it pushes people away. Sometimes it creates expectations that never existed before. Imagine lending money once, then again, then again. Eventually, people stop seeing your generosity. They begin expecting it. The gift becomes an obligation. That's why many lottery winners struggle after becoming publicly wealthy. Not simply because they spend too much, but because everyone around them suddenly sees them differently. Your financial success becomes public property. People feel entitled to it. A silent millionaire avoids much of this. They quietly help others when they genuinely want to, not because they're pressured into it. Here's another surprising benefit. You become almost invisible, and that's more powerful than it sounds. People leave you alone. You can walk through airports without attention. You can eat at ordinary restaurants. You can sit in a park without becoming the center of every conversation. Privacy is becoming one of the rarest luxuries in the modern world. Many celebrities spend fortunes trying to buy privacy. A silent millionaire already has it. Now let's talk about something psychologists call lifestyle inflation. Imagine getting a raise at work. At first, you're excited. Soon, you upgrade your apartment, then your car, then your vacations. A few months later, your expenses have grown just as much as your income. You don't feel richer anymore. You've simply created a more expensive version of your old life. This happens at almost every income level. The more people earn, the more they often spend. The finish line keeps moving. A $400 million fortune doesn't automatically protect you from this. Without awareness, lifestyle lifestyle inflation has no limit, because luxury becomes normal surprisingly fast. The sports car feels exciting for a few weeks, then it becomes your regular car. The mansion feels incredible for a few months, then it's just your house. Humans adapt incredibly quickly. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. Whatever feels extraordinary today becomes ordinary tomorrow. That's why chasing bigger purchases rarely creates lasting happiness. But freedom? Freedom doesn't wear off nearly as quickly. Freedom to choose your schedule, freedom to spend time with family, freedom to say no, freedom to walk away from toxic situations. Those benefits stay valuable year after year. Imagine someone insults you at work. Most people stay silent because they need the paycheck. You don't. Imagine your boss demands something unreasonable. You can calmly say no, not because you're arrogant, because you're financially independent. That's a completely different kind of confidence. Notice something important. None of this requires anyone to know you're wealthy. Your confidence comes from security, not attention. That's a lesson many people miss. Some people chase expensive things because they want admiration. Others quietly build wealth because they want freedom. Those goals lead to very different lives. Here's another interesting thought experiment. Imagine you're sitting in a crowded coffee shop. Everyone around you is worrying about money. Someone is stressed about debt. Someone else is anxious about paying rent. Another person is wondering if they can afford a vacation. Meanwhile, you quietly own $400 million. Nothing about your appearance reveals it. You're simply enjoying your coffee. That moment teaches something powerful. Money doesn't change reality as much as it changes perspective. The world outside remains exactly the same. Only your relationship with uncertainty changes. You stop making decisions out of fear. Instead, you make them based on values. And that's where real wealth begins. Because wealth isn't measured only by numbers, it's measured by options. Imagine two people again. One earns $1 million every year but spends even more. The other earns much less but owns investments that produce income forever. Who is actually free? Probably the second person. Freedom isn't about income, it's about control. Control over your time, control over your choices, control over your future. That's why many truly wealthy people focus more on protecting wealth than displaying it. They understand that attention is expensive, privacy is valuable, and peace is priceless. Now let's imagine one final scene. You're 80 years old, you've lived comfortably, you've traveled, you've helped people quietly, you've never needed to impress strangers, you've never felt trapped by money, you've spent decades doing meaningful work because you wanted to, not because you had to. Would you regret that nobody knew how rich you were? Probably not, because admiration from strangers fades quickly, but a life filled with freedom, security, meaningful relationships, and peace lasts much longer. Here's the biggest lesson. Most people spend their lives trying to look wealthy. Very few spend their lives becoming wealthy, and an even smaller group learns the secret of staying quietly wealthy. The goal isn't to own $400 million. The goal is to build a life where money works for you instead of you working for money. Whether your number is 40,000, 400,000, 4 million, or 400 million, the principle never changes. Wealth is not about proving anything. It's about removing limitations. It's about buying back your time. It's about sleeping peacefully. It's about making decisions without constant financial fear. It's about having enough that you never need to pretend. So if one day life gives you extraordinary wealth, remember this: the loudest millionaire in the room is rarely the richest. Real wealth often looks surprisingly ordinary. It wakes up quietly, lives intentionally, invests patiently, helps generously, and smiles, knowing that the greatest luxury in the world isn't being seen as rich, it's being truly free.